All right. How is everyone doing this lovely afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the United States or in the world? Thanks for joining us tonight. This is Thinking Beyond Borders Google Alumni Hangout, where we are just going to answer any of your questions that you may have, or possibly just talk about what it's like to be a student on Thinking Beyond Borders Gap Year program. I'll introduce myself. My name is Kasha Coombs. I am the Alumni Fellow. So I did the Global Gap Year program about 5 years ago and am now working for them as their fellow. And it's been an adventure for sure. And I'll turn the time over to Mattie and she can introduce herself.
Hi, so I'm Mattie Wyndham. I was a part of the Global Gap Year TB West last year. So I was the 2014-2015 graduate. And so right now I'm a first year at Colby College all the way up in Waterville, Maine. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, Mattie, for helping me out with this. It's always good to have someone who's done the program a little bit more recently than I have. So let's get this started. For anybody who's watching, feel free to ask questions. I'll open up the Q&A. And so what that will do is that whenever you have questions, feel free to just shoot them at us and we will answer them as soon as they come in. So hopefully you do that. If not, we're just going to chat. Okay, let's start with just a general question. Why did you take a gap year?
So I was one of those students who was obsessed with college from a very early age. From like 8 years old, I was super psyched, like ready to go to college, like have this freedom, explore all the libraries. Like I loved to learn. And then when I was a junior in high school, I just realized that like I had started learning for the sake of achievement rather than learning for the sake of learning, and I hated that. I was stressing myself out so much over like getting into the right school, the grades that I was getting, the extracurricular work I was doing, and just really wasn't taking care of myself the way I should be and wasn't living the life I wanted to. So I like brought up to my parents and they were like, that sounds great, but that's expensive. And I was like, yeah. So sort of put on the back burner for a little bit, but I was like, no, like I need this to happen. Like I found Thinking Beyond Borders and I realized that the financial aid scholarship sort of package that they gave was just an incredible gift, and I was able to do it, and all the better for it.
Perfect. Good.
Yeah.
I'm also one of the people that took advantage of that scholarship fundraising program that they have. It helps you out. I mean, you still have to work hard to make the money.
For sure.
It's not a free pass for sure. We definitely, if you want to do it, you have to really want to do it and show that. But yeah, they definitely help out as much as they possibly can. So it's great. Okay. Where should we go next? Okay, what was your favorite work project? So what was one of so everybody knows every country you go to, you do like a core project where every day you work with the same people on a specific projects, focusing on a specific development issue. So yes, Mattie, which one was your favorite? And we'll kind of explain what it was and then why it was your favorite.
Yeah, so the 4 main core countries I went to were Ecuador, Thailand, India, and South Africa. And wow, I'd have to say that in India, I think enjoyed the work project the most, even though it definitely had a complicated relationship with it. So it was we taught English in schools in Jaipur. It was the education unit, so we were learning all about like these different education styles, about like just all these really amazing theories and ideas around education work, and just grappling with all these questions, especially around like ideas of volunteering in schools and sort of what that really amounts to, et cetera, et cetera. So the work was incredibly challenging. I think all of us sort of admitted like, wow, we should just email our teachers right now from high school being like, thank you so much. You just realize how much work it is to be a teacher. And I think I really just gained a new appreciation for education and for the work that teachers do. And I think it really helped me get to see this really unique side of Jaipur. And I was able to grapple with the questions that we were asking in seminars a lot better. Yeah.
Cool. What made you choose the global gap year versus doing a semester?
So sort of like right off the bat when I found Thinking Beyond Borders, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is the coolest thing in the entire world. And I wanted to commit to this like full 7-month experience. Like I wanted to get every ounce of it I could, especially after reading like all the blogs from previous students. I was just even more hooked. And I knew that like I really just wanted to take a full year off. Like I didn't really want to just take a semester off and then like have time at home. It just wasn't really what I wanted. And I wanted to really see as much of the world as possible. And I think the Global Gap Year program especially gives you that opportunity to see just really diverse parts of the world and understand how different cultures really are. Like you just get sort of this dabbling in a great majority of the part of the world that you just haven't seen before. Yeah, so honestly, I just wanted to experience as much as I could, and so I was just sort of all in for that global gap year.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I would just say ditto to that. I ended up doing the full. Well, my situation is a little bit different because I didn't have the semester option, but still, like I've led a semester as well as done the global gap year, and the year program just gives you so many more opportunities to grow and to learn. You go to more countries, you experience a lot more cultures. So it's a crazy, crazy year, but like the best year ever. So it's great. So a huge component of our program is the Homestay family experience. Mm-hmm. So what was that like for you, Mattie?
Yeah, so first and foremost, and I think I heard this from alumni before I went on my trip, but like seriously take full advantage of your homestay family. And I don't think anyone ever really does take like as much as you can from that opportunity, but I think looking back on it, it is such a unique opportunity that you get. So I think my favorite was in South Africa. I was living with two just really like young there, and they definitely had like differing values from what we were learning and the values that I held. But they taught me so much about honesty and about really like empathy work and learning to just really listen, but also stick up for what I believe in and do so in a kind manner and an understanding way. And like I think my host dad Eugene just taught me a lot about listening. Even when you kind of just don't want to, even when you really believe that like what the other person is saying just is so against what you believe in, there's a reason that person believes that. Mm-hmm. And I think for me, I was like Robin, the founder, talks about, like all of like high order empathy and all these ideas and values that I think we talk a lot about on TBB, but I think like living with those host families, you get the opportunity to put those values into practice. Yeah, and so I really, really love the host families.
Awesome. In case we have viewers that weren't here before, if you have any questions that you want answered, you have two alumni here who are here to answer them. So just go to the sidebar on your left, I think, and there should be a Q&A option, and just type in your questions and we will try to answer them. Okay, yeah, host families are the best. It's the greatest way to learn a culture, to fall in love with the culture, and to really just like, I don't know, have a very personal connection to the country that you're in. Yeah, because now when I think of Ecuador or China or South Africa, there's like a part of my heart that's just like, oh, I want to go back. Not just because it's beautiful, but because of the people that just like, you just absolutely just fall in love with these people. And it's really cool.
Yeah.
Really cool. Okay. Let's see, what was your favorite meal? A fun question.
Oh, my favorite meal. Oh my gosh.
Or just one that sticks out.
Yeah, so when I was living in Thailand, we were living with in northern Thailand, and we were living with a organic farming community for 3 weeks or so. It was like one of our shortest host family experiences. But my host mom, Maya Venus, she was like one of the leaders of this organic farming community. And oh my gosh, her vegetables were just phenomenal. Like we just had the freshest vegetables you can possibly imagine, like every single meal. I lived with 2 other vegetarians, and I wasn't a vegetarian at the time, but I like was definitely considering it, especially we were in the sustainable agriculture unit, so learning a lot about the food systems. And our first morning, she just made this like salad for us that she'd like just pick the lettuce and the fruits and all the vegetables just from her garden, and I like still think about that sometimes. And she just loved it so much. Like she loved just like nourishing us, I think, and like sharing the hard work that she'd done with us, and then that eventually we got to help with. So yeah, definitely all of her meals were just a really special occasion.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You definitely try a lot of new things on the program, but it's fun. The food is such a huge part of people's culture, so it's just, I'm always curious what people's favorite meals are, because it's interesting how just one meal can just bring back like so many memories and emotions, and it's crazy. It's crazy.
For sure. Yeah.
Okay. Did you ever get sick, and how did you deal with that? People get worried about getting sick.
Yeah. So I get sick. So I like just had like a really severe cold, and I think I might even self-diagnose myself with like bronchitis when the first day we were hiking the Salcantay Trail.
Yeah.
To Machu Picchu. So that was brutal. And it's already this like extremely physically exhausting hike. Like it was the worst hike day. Just really intense. Like you're going through like 3 different climates in one day. And I was just like crying. Like I was like, can't do it. I like told my mentor, I was like, how am I supposed to do that? Like it was just so rough. And I'm already like not really a hiker. Like I love it now, but at the time I just did not have that much experience with it. But I just got on a horse and just made it up the rest of the mountain, the rest of the way, and had the support of my amazing peers. so that was my like one memory of like just being, but I know like a lot of my peers got like had like stomach problems, just from like food or just, you know, like different things. And you know, it happens. And you go like to the clinic and you just kind of deal with it. Like, I don't know. It's definitely not, I don't think it should be a deterrent to anyone at all. Like, it's just a thing that happens, you know, like it's a struggle, but it's one of those kind of like memorable struggles, I think, that
Yeah.
people do. Yeah, and yeah.
Okay. There was a question here and then it disappeared, so I don't know what that means, but I read it, so I'll ask it. But the question that she
Okay.
asked was, how much time do you spend, like, how often are you with your program leaders, and what did you do with your free time when you, I guess, yeah, what did you do when you weren't with them, or you weren't with the group members? So kind of like talk about like your free time. I mean, I'm guessing I only read it for like a half second, but how much time you spent like with the group versus on your own or with the program leaders, just how that whole dynamic works.
Right. So I loved my program leaders so much. And so I like honestly chose to spend a lot of my like some of my free time with them. I think like I just took sort of full advantage of the mentoring that that TBB gives you. And I think that's a really beautiful part of it. But yeah, so with the group, so you can like if you're, so we had there's a fair amount of time, and like especially on the weekends, to like when we were in Chiang Mai, like we explored Chiang Mai a lot. We went out shopping. We had like fun dinners that like group members would get together in like small groups and go out. Like especially when you're in sort of when you're not like in like the host communities, when you're more like on those in-betweens, like, or the enrichment weeks, you do have like a fair amount of free time where you can choose where to get your meal, who to get it with, what you want to do, how you want to explore the cities that you're in, the community. Yeah, I mean, I also learned a lot about like how like when to take downtime and when to like really take care of myself and be like, maybe like right now is not the best time for me to go to seminar. Maybe I just need like to really decompress and like figure out what's going on in my head. Like, you're going through so many changes, and I think TBB does a really great job of recognizing and encouraging you to like check in with yourself and figure out what's best for you. So
yeah, for like same thing, I guess, adding to what she was saying, you definitely, I mean, there's like structured time that we were supposed to be together, whether it's seminars or like other meetings or activities or the volunteer work. I mean, that's when like we're scheduled to be together, but there is a significant amount of free time. And kind of to explain the program leader student mentorship thing, it's really cool. At the beginning of the trip, you'll be assigned to a program leader who will kind of be your mentor throughout the entire program. So you'll have like bi-weekly or monthly meetings with them where you just sit down and it's like your time to just like vent and just kind of really process what's going through your mind and through this experience. It's super beneficial because you go through some crazy experiences and some crazy stuff. And so it's nice to have that person who can kind of help you find perspective. And just really just be that person you can just like lean on and talk to. Yeah, it's a cool situation. And usually our program leaders are pretty sweet. When I say usually, I mean always. So you should be in good hands no matter what. And again, just gonna plug it out there. If you guys have questions, please let us know. The Q&A on the left side. Ask us questions because we'd much rather answer your questions than our questions. So please don't be shy. Okay. Next question, Mattie. What was it like to travel with the same group of people for 7 months? Some people.
Oh my God. It was the absolute best. No, I mean, I miss my group every single day. They become like your they really are like another family. I've spent a lot of time in the past year really like reflecting on that and thinking about like why do I miss them so much, you know? Like, why is our bond so intense? And I think it's just really interesting because like honestly you are uprooted from like everything you've really ever known. And you like your address is changing all the time, like you're just traveling so much and so much is changing, but really are these like 18, 20 other people with you, and they just sort of like become your home. It's kind of like how it happened for me. I mean, definitely at times, like it gets kind of exhausting being with people all the time, and you know, like you get on each other's nerves. Like it's people, like relationships take a strain, but also one of my favorite parts about my gap year was that it taught me how to really live in relation with other people in the deepest and most meaningful way possible. Like I really just learned how to love on that trip, and it's a really great experience, like seeing people grow and seeing yourself grow and seeing like knowing that you're growing with one another and that you're experiencing all the same things together. Yeah, it's a really great, fun, emotional, beautiful time.
Yeah, I would agree. I think one thing I always told people is that like everybody that was on my group, if we were to have met each other in any other circumstance, none of us would be friends. Right? Yeah. We're all just like, I mean, there'd be a couple like exceptions, but for the most part, you just are put together with the most random group of people. But at the same time, sometimes you find your soulmate on this trip because you're with people, with like-minded people who are wanting to go out and be more and do more. And so I was just every day inspired and impressed by the people I was traveling with. I just never felt as smart as everybody in my group. Yeah, it's a great group of people. And like Mattie says, like there's some hard days. There's definitely some days where I didn't like the people that I was with. You know, that's what happens. It's like family, you know, when you're with someone every single day for 8 months, you get to those points. But I agree. You definitely learn how to love them no matter what, though. Even in that circumstance, you're like, I may not like you, but I know I love you. Just give me a second to get over this. You know, give me some space. Yeah, and the bond you make with them is like so awesome. I have the same thing. I miss my people all the time, and I did the program 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. And it's still like seeing them, it's just like, I don't care that it's been 5 years since I've seen you, or 2 years or 3 years. Like, you get me. You're my person, and it's not awkward, it's not weird, and we can just be friends. So it's cool. Okay, question. Did you apply to college when you were on the gap year, or did you defer a year?
Ooh, okay, so I first applied to colleges when I was a senior in high school, and then I didn't get in where I wanted to go, and I'd already decided I wanted to take a gap year, so I reapplied when I was on TBB. I'd filled out like most of my application work though before, like the summer beforehand, so I didn't have that much work to do. and I like submitted everything by, I think, like early deadlines, like October, November. Yeah.
Yeah, my story is pretty. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, well, just most people, I think, end up deferring. I think there are only a handful of us that like applied during it.
Yeah, I kind of did both. I got into a couple colleges, and I deferred to one of them. But then halfway through my gap year, I decided I didn't want to go there. So and I ended up applying somewhere different.
Yeah.
So it's pretty feasible. You have free time for you to do stuff like that. And only in unique circumstances will you not be able to access internet. Like I know in Ecuador, it'll be tricky because you're living in the middle of the Amazon with an indigenous tribe. So internet like isn't really a thing there yet, I don't think. At least it wasn't when I was there. They may have gotten more hip.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, so except for situations like that, like there should always be like an internet cafe, or you should at least have internet within a week or something. So yeah, it's possible. Okay, we have 4 viewers now. This is exciting.
Yay.
Yeah. Again, anybody who joined late, feel free to ask us questions. We'd much rather answer yours than ours. So just click the Q&A and type us some questions, and we shall answer them. We love answering questions. And don't worry about if we've already talked about it. We don't mind talking again. But while we're waiting for questions, Mattie, was it hard? Did the program feel too long? Some people worry about, I mean, you're gone for 7 months. What was that like?
Yeah, so I think it was the perfect amount of time. I think I would have enjoyed a bit more time, but I think most people were like, this is the perfect amount of time, like missing home. It definitely, I think it gets to you on certain points, especially like over holidays or when you're just in a really rough spot, like personally. It's natural, you know, to feel homesick. But no, I mean, I think the length was really, really great. It was a really just like perfect amount of time to sort of have that experience abroad. Yeah, and I mean, I think the culmination sort of in the States really wraps everything up in a really, really great, purposeful way. So yeah, I think it was a really good length.
Cool. Yeah, I would say the same. There's definitely moments like, especially around Christmas time and Thanksgiving, I was just like, oh my gosh, I just want to be home right now. But at the same time, just like I felt, and when you go home, you're definitely, I don't know, at least for me, like I was ready to go home. I was sad to leave and to leave like this crazy life that I had had for the last 7 months. But I feel like you definitely get to a point where you're like, okay, this was my adventure. Now it's time to do something with it. You know, you learned, you grow, and now it's time to apply it. It was like that chapter is over, time for the next one. But yeah, but it's fun. I mean, like in situations like that, the group does a good job of like Thanksgiving, we all got together and, you know, did our Thanksgiving things, and Christmas, we had a Secret Santa and a Christmas talent show, and each group like does their own little thing. So it helps. But yeah, homesickness is a real thing. I would say expect to have it happen, but also know that you have a whole group of people who know exactly what you're going through, and are there to support you and hold you when you cry and cry with you. And it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. Okay. Mattie, tell me, how can one person pack their entire life into one backpack?
Oh, so that was definitely one of my questions before I went on TV. Wow. And funnily enough, like I still haven't really like learned how to pack light. I like go on weekend trips and use like the same giant backpack, but believe me, it is possible. Yeah, I mean, so you have like your big backpack, and then you have like I just have like a school backpack, like a North Face backpack that I still use for school and books and stuff. Um, and so I use like packing like small bags. I don't remember what they're called, but just like packing bags. And you learn to roll your clothes like really tightly. And you just get really great sort of at like how to geometrically stuff everything in a bag. And I mean, it's kind of fun, like learning like, all right, like if I put this shoe here and like this one bag here, then this can all fit. But I mean, definitely like just like pack light things is a really good thing to do. I think it also like depends on. I was fortunate, so like I did TBB West, so we started in Ecuador and then ended in South Africa. So just like weather-wise, I was always like hot. Really, like I didn't really experience like cold weather for like 7 months. So I didn't have to bring that many sweatshirts or anything like that. But yeah, just I think if you have more questions, like when you're really getting ready to pack, like I reached out to an alum and it was a really great decision, like to have someone be like, do I need this many pair of t-shirts, like blah blah blah. Possible.
Yeah. I would also say just don't stress about having enough, because you get to a point where you end up wearing the same outfit like the entire week sometimes. Like you just get to a point in your gap year where fashion is not what you're concerned about, and it's more of just like what's comfortable and what's cool or what's worn depending on where you're at. And just to explain that too for people who don't understand the East-West thing, one group starts in Ecuador. We have 2 different global gap years. One starts in Ecuador, and then the last country is South Africa, and then one country starts in South Africa, and then the last country is Ecuador. So you kind of just follow each other, opposite rotations. Same experience, just you start in one place and end in a different place. But yeah, don't overthink it. Also, TBB sends you out a packing list. TBB, Thinking Beyond Borders, just in case you haven't picked that up yet. Yeah, we send out a packing list. We're super specific. Bring this many shirts, these kind of pants, this kind of sweatshirt. Layers is key. Because some days you're going to want something really heavy and warm. Other days you want something light. So think layers. Good hiking shoes for that Sakata Trail. Yeah. Okay. Mattie, tricky question. What was the hardest part for you?
This question is always so hard to answer. Because I always want to say the hardest part was honestly like leaving. So definitely there were times when I think nostalgia makes it so much harder to answer this question because it's just so hard to like think of anything bad that happened. But definitely at times, especially in the beginning, I got like the group dynamics were really frustrating for me. Like it was difficult for me, like letting go and accepting like the group is going to go where it's going to go, and you're going to form the relationships you're going to form. And I think for a while I was still like in this like mindset in high school. You have like all these stereotypes or these expectations for like who people are. And so, I mean, honestly, like in a nutshell, the hardest thing for me was like letting go of expectations and all these like socializations, I guess, that I learned about creating relationship and like judgments that I'd had. But I think once I just embrace this new knowledge and the mentorship that I was getting, it made everything a lot better. Yeah, I think there's definitely like in the beginning, you're just sort of like still figuring things out. But there's like this point, I think, that you get to when you're like, you just start seeing the world in such a different light. So I think just like really being able to accept those sort of those changes and things.
Yeah, I would say mine was probably similar. It was just coming to that realization. I feel like I grew up in a pretty sheltered world. And on this trip, you can't afford to be sheltered. It just doesn't happen. And not like in a bad way. It's not like we throw bombs at you, but it's just, you see a lot and you experience a lot and you learn a lot. And so it's hard. It was hard for me to like really accept the world as it was, because I wanted to believe that it was Disneyland, essentially, where everybody was happy and everybody got along, and there was, I don't know, everybody was hugging each other, which I knew wasn't the case, but I just wanted to believe that, and then I got to a point where I couldn't anymore. I couldn't believe that, and so it was this really dark, deep place I got to, but after, yeah, like mentorship and the other experiences and really looking at it with a different perspective, I realized that there's a lot of good out there too, and that, you know, I can be a part of that good, and to not get too, I don't know, disappointed or depressed by the world we looked at, but instead see it as an opportunity to make it better, which was good. It was a good perspective for me to learn. Just a heads up, we're going to be rounding this up within the next 5-10 minutes. So if you have any questions, please shoot them at us before we have to go. But Mattie, I'll ask you another hard question. It's kind of a heavy one. What was your biggest takeaway?
Okay, so I like sort of like came up with this like phrasing, I guess, like at graduation last year, where I really like, now when I think about it, I sort of think about what I learned as these like 3 pillars that TBB like taught me to stand on, is kind of how I phrase it. Those being like an ability to live and love and create community, an ability to challenge my assumptions, and sort of this this like commitment to looking inward. And so like essentially what all of that means is that it taught me so much about love and humility and vulnerability. And honestly, the trip, as like weird as it sounds, like it does not end after you get back to the States. I like, there was this point during fall semester, like late September, early October, where I was just like sitting on our lawn on campus, just writing, and sort of, it was like everything that I had learned had sort of just like finally sunk in, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like this is love, like this is like learning to love yourself and like seeing the world in this just really beautiful way, but also this really critical way. And I mean, yeah, so there's so much like great reflection that you learn, and so much, it just teaches you how to find your values and how to question everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, kind of going off of that, a question from the audience. Did you find that at the end of your gap year, did you end the gap year with a new direction for what you wanted to do?
Yes. So for a very long time, I was like I thought I knew exactly what I wanted to do. Like, I thought that I had this, like, idea of what social justice, human rights, like what activism was. And then on the trip really learned that like there's so much that I don't know. There's so many like theories and thoughts and readings and ideas and experiences out there that I just haven't had yet. So like, how can I know that what I like this is the problem I want to tackle, or like I want to tackle it in this way? So I think going into the trip, I was like, I'm going to be an international journalist. Like, this is what I want to do. And then learned that, like, that's just not what I'm great at. Like, I learned really to look for my purpose in life and, like, figure out what that meant to me and what really feels right. And came away realizing that I really love mentorship and I really love the education piece of social justice. And I really love creating and innovating. And so I'm now like more focused on a side of like social justice education or like community organizing. But instead of having this like extremely structured idea of like, this is, I take the approach of just being like, what looks good for me right now? What am I passionate about? Let me follow this for a little bit and sort of like things are going to be okay and I'm going to end up doing what I'm going to end up doing. Like, I just learned to listen to myself way more. And I think right now, like at 19 years old, that just means learning more and going with the flow.
Yeah, good answer. Yeah, I definitely, I mean, I left the program thinking I wanted to do one thing and ended up studying something completely different. But one thing that TBB did give me was it empowered me to take ownership of my learning. And to really make sure that I was studying something that I was passionate about. I was studying something that I cared about. And it made my heart, the stuff we talked about just like made my heart pound in a way that I hadn't experienced before. And so I knew I wanted to do something around the topics that we were talking about. And we really cover a lot of topics. So you have a lot of opportunities to find that one thing. And so I went off to school and I just conveniently took this class. Well, I tried it because it was international communications, cultural and communications. And I was like, yeah, that sounds TBB-esque. So I took it and all of a sudden my heart was pounding again. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. I found it. And just went crazy after that. So you may not leave it like knowing you want to be a veterinarian or a journalist or something specific like that. And you may, I'm not saying you won't, but if you don't, you will leave knowing a little bit more what you're passionate about, and what makes you excited, and what kind of things will make you want to get out of bed every day and learn about, which is super essential when going off to college. At least I think you need that motivation, you need that passion, or else you just end up getting really disappointed and really frustrated. Oh no, Mattie froze. Well, this is the end. I think we've gone for about 45 minutes. And I don't know where the other girl went, so hopefully this is still working. Oh, Mattie, you're there. Oh, yeah. Okay. Good. Okay, cool. Great. Sorry about that technical difficulty. I guess, Mattie, just any last words you have for the audience? Oh, and it froze again. Mattie, are you there?
Hey, yeah.
Okay. Just any last words for the audience? Any last tips?
Oh my gosh. I mean,
Oh no. She just disappeared.
hey, sorry.
That's
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, so honestly, just I mean, do what feels right, but thinking beyond borders is what is by far like the best decision of my life. Um, if you have any more questions, honestly, like please reach out to me. Like I love talking about thinking beyond borders all the time. It was a really great decision for me to. I checked in sort of with an alum that I found via the internet beforehand and learned so much more. Um, but yeah, I mean, Thinking Beyond Borders is a really beautiful opportunity to not only like explore the world, but explore yourself and your place in it and the people around you. So
Yeah, I agree. This program is, yeah, so many words I could say. This is the third one I've done this too, so if you have heard my voice too much, I apologize. But this program really holds such a special place in my heart. They do a really great job of just really helping you figure yourself out and help you better understand the world and figure out your place in it, which is extremely helpful. And they do it in a really cool way, in a way that's unforgettable. And I don't know, just in a way that really helps you figure out how to do life, which is extremely helpful. But so yes, reach out, you guys, if you have any more questions. Just go to our website and you can contact us and get you in contact with me, and we can chat. And just do it. If you're just sitting on the fence, guys, just do it. Just push apply and go, because you won't regret it. But anyways, thank you, Mattie, for coming, and thank you for those who watched and the questions that were submitted. Enjoy the rest of enjoy your weekend, and when in doubt, apply to TVB.
yes. Tasha.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night, and we'll hopefully hear from you guys soon. Bye.